Welcome to Computer Programming in C++. Today we're going to look at creating our first class. We're going to do a class of type square. It'll be a relatively straightforward one, but that's what you want to start with anyway. So going straight into our program, I have a shell of a program set up. And what I'm going to do, rather than use other files or anything fancy like that, we're going to create the class right at the top of the program. So class. I use the word class to say I'm going to declare this. You know what? I should put comments in. I'm kind of commenting verbally, but it's a good habit to get into. Square class declaration. There we go. So first I use the keyword class, and then I put in the name I'm going to have for this class. Later on, when I use the main program, objects will be named data type square. Okay, so I've got that. Now, classes can have both private and public members. They don't need to have both, but I'm going to use both for this example so you can see both. In this case, the private member of this class will be the length. What makes it private is that it can only be accessed by member functions. That means that the user, actually the programmer inside the main program, can't directly change the value of length. It protects the data. It doesn't always need to be done, but it does come in handy. My typing's not the best today. All right. Public members, I'm going to have these be functions that the programmer can use. So one will be to set the length. Since I'm not allowing direct access to the value of length, we need to have a function to be able to set a length of the square within the program. One that we're also going to have another function here that will return the value of the length to the calling function. So in this case, back to the main function. I'm putting const, that keyword we use to describe constants, after the function as part of, this is just the prototype right now. But I'm putting the keyword in there to tell the program that, well, this getLength function is not going to change any value inside the main. It'll keep those functions. The calling program will keep their variables constant within that. Now, sending back a value within the main, you can change things, but it's not going to happen within the function itself. In fact, if I try to write one that does change a value, I should get a compiler error. All right. And the class, put a semicolon there. Now what this did is it set up the prototypes for these functions. I do have a variable type double called length, but I haven't written these functions yet. I can actually write those in line there, but usually they're written down below. So let's write the set length function. So I'll see what it does. This function sets the length. Typing problems again. Where? Of the square. So this function does not return a value, so I'm going to use the data type void. Now, before I even put the function name, since I'm outside of that class declaration, I put in, okay, what class am I referring to? I'm referring to the square class, colon, colon, and then I will put the setLength function. Let's see, it takes in a double, call it len. This colon is called the scope resolution operator, and it says what scope does this function work in. Set length works in the function square. So it says exactly what I'm referring to. If you have multiple classes around, or you start including a variety of header files up here, we'll get to those later, the scope resolution operator really becomes important to say, okay, where does this function apply? This one is only used within the square class. Now, what does this function do? All it does is take the value of len and set it and store it into the variable, the private variable length. This is how we're going to access that variable. Let's write our other functions. Let's see, we have get length. It doesn't take in a value. I keep that const keyword available though. Okay, tab. And all this will do is return the length to the calling function if we ever need it. These are writing simple functions, but this is a first example of object-oriented programming. You can definitely get more complicated in the future. Okay, get area const. And this will return the value of area. I don't have an area variable. What I'm going to do is just multiply length by itself. That's how you find the area of a square. There we go. Now we've written a class and we've written the member functions. In the next video, I want to show how do we call those functions and access the class within the main function. Before I do that, though, did you see the mistake I made? In a pause there, I just added in, went to stop and add in some comments because I felt bad leaving those out, and I realized I made a major mistake here in these two functions. Did not make it up here. I forgot my scope resolution operator. My compiler would not see those functions as part of the square class the way I had it set up. They would see those as completely separate functions that could be used only within the main program. So a small fix, added the scope resolution operator, and we should be good to go for the next